Should you buy a home right now in Florida, or should you rent first? That's a question that a lot of you guys are asking yourselves, and it's just becoming more and more confusing because the housing market has appreciated so much, especially in Florida over the last 2 years, yet rental prices are really sky high. And so in today's video, what I'm going to do is share with you a buying versus rent calculator that I did for myself. The spreadsheet, because it's broken down into different variables and pieces and calculations, is really going to help you think through this question much more critically. I do want to say this does not constitute financial advice whatsoever. I'm not a financial advisor. Seek out the advice of a financial advisor, even for just an hour's time. My name is Katrin.pfitzenreiter. I'm a real estate agent in Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakewood Ranch, and Venice. Before we get into the discussion portion on the template, what I wanted to do first is talk about the pros and cons of renting versus home purchases. Well, let's talk about the pros of renting first. And I think one of the major pros is, especially if you're somebody that is consistently moving and you don't like to be in one place at a time, is the fact that you have the flexibility, right? You can lease a home for whatever time frame, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and then easily pick up and go on to your next destination. Also, you don't really have that much responsibility when it comes to home care, because typically the landlord will take care of anything that breaks inside of the home. And also, depending on where you live, it could be a little bit more affordable to rent versus buy. Now, that's going to depend on the location, and you really need to do kind of an analysis. Now, with a home purchase, what you do have is more stability. The home is yours. You're the owner. And so you don't have a landlord that is telling you what needs to be done based on the contract that you've signed. You have more stability in the sense of, well, a landlord can increase rental prices, and they can also decide not to rent out the home anymore to you once the contract is done. You can own the home for as long as you want, for as long as you can, assuming that you're financially stable. You can do in it what you want, assuming you're not in an HOA community. If you're in an HOA community, you'll have to abide to rules and regulations, but the home is yours. Part of the portion of your mortgage payment can also be utilized for tax deduction, and you're building home equity. There's a lot of pros involved with purchasing and renting, and so it really depends on where you're at in life, what you're comfortable with, and really your own personal decision. Let's look at my calculator to better understand how I'm thinking through this one scenario I'm going to walk you through right now. Here is the spreadsheet, high level. The first piece here is where I'm going to be inputting the variables in orange. This here is the results piece. It's running off calculations, and essentially what we're looking here is the financial benefit of owning versus renting. And then this section here is the actual calculation. There's a lot of formulas in here. I'm going to start off with this top section here because that's where I'm going to be inputting the variables. All right, I'm going to start off with the purchase price, and I put in here $550,000. I chose $550,000 because that's essentially really close to the median price of what it would cost right now to purchase a single family home here in Sarasota. Down payment would be approximately 20%. That's really on average what a down payment is these days. The interest rate, I put in here 6.5%, but I do want to say that most economists are actually saying that the interest rates, mortgage interest rates, are going to be even lower towards the end of the year. Now, this is obviously a guess, but I figured 6.5 would be a good guess. I do want to say that this model is going to be very sensitive towards what the interest rate is, okay? So a model is just as good as the projections are. Most likely it's going to be a 30-year fixed loans. I put 30 in here. For property tax, I chose 1.1% because that's a good directional way of calculating what the expected property taxes are going to be off the purchase price, right? So it's 1.1% of the purchase price. So that comes out to $6,050 in this scenario over here. Now for annual maintenance and repairs, I have this actually set for 1% of the purchase price. So this is what you can expect on average to pay on maintenance and repairs of the home, right? You got to make sure that you have money set aside for that because you just never know what's going to break down in your house. And then housing association dues, I'm putting in here $3,500. Of course, if you are not in an HOA community, you wouldn't even incur that cost. For homeowners insurance, I put in $5,000, which is really close to, on average, what people are paying right now in home insurance costs here in Florida. Now, if you have a new construction home, that cost is probably going to be far less. Cost increases due to inflation. So our costs are going to continue to go up, right, as the years go on. And so I'm making the assumption that it's going to go up by 3% on average. The Fed's goal is 2%, and hopefully by next year we're going to be at that 2% goal. These are just assumptions. I mean, that's what these models are. They're being built on a lot of assumptions. The annual appreciation, now historically it's been closer to 4.5%. I put in 5% in here because NAR actually expected Florida to appreciate by 5% this year. Now that was before, or over 5% I should say, but that was before the bank collapse, so it'll be interesting to see what happens next. But I'm going to go with 5% over the next few years. For marginal income tax rate, I'm assuming that somebody can afford $550,000. They're making about $125,000 K salary, and that would bring them into the 32% marginal income tax rate. And so my monthly mortgage, which is already calculated in here based on my input, comes out to $2,764. So I've done a rental analysis. In a similar priced home at $550K will be around $3,000. Might actually be even more, but I'm going to put in $3,000. Rental prices, I'm assuming it's going to go up yearly by about 5%. Landlords are going to want to cover the inflation, and we're assuming that inflation is going to be around 3%. So a landlord is going to cover the inflation and make a little bit of an increase in their rental prices. Annual after-tax return on cash investment. This is important. If you're somebody that's going to be taking out a mortgage, you have to put down a down payment, right? But the other option here is instead to rent and then take that portion that you would have otherwise allotted to the down payment and invest it instead. So we're going to look at this result here. The initial home value was $550,000. The debt was $440,000, and after 7 years, the home value, because of appreciation, comes out to about $753,000. But this is what's interesting. Look at this. The debt you still owe after 7 years is $400,000, close to $400,000. So you really just paid off $40,000. So when you're looking to purchase a home, you really want to make sure that you're purchasing it at the right time, that it is going to continue to appreciate, because if it doesn't, assume there is a market crash, then absolutely you're going to be way better off renting. So the net cash when buying, right, so making these assumptions here, is going to be $353,000 after 7 years. Now the net savings when renting versus buying, this makes the assumption of utilizing the down payment for investment purposes as well, with a return of 7%, that comes out to $259,000. So actual financial benefit of owning versus renting after 7 years, you'd be making $70,000 if you had bought. And after 10 years, you'd be making $140,000. So what we're talking about here is the actual financial benefit of purchasing versus the option of renting. Now, what I wanted to show you real quick is the cash outflow. How much are you going to be paying for a home purchase versus renting on a yearly basis? Starting off, it's going to cost more money to purchase a home, right, in the beginning, but there's going to be a break-even point right around year 8 and 9. Now again, this does not take into assumption that the home value is going to appreciate, and it also doesn't take the assumption of you being able to take the down payment instead of purchasing and investing, right? That's this calculation over here, where after 7 years you are actually better off having purchased by about $70,000, and in 10 years by about $140,000. Now do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, like this video. It does help out the video's performance, the channel's performance. If you're somebody that's looking to purchase or sell a property in Florida and you don't have a real estate agent, call me and I can absolutely refer you to somebody in your area, unless it's outside of the area I work in, which is Sarasota, Bradenton, Lakewood Ranch, and Venice. If you're looking to purchase or sell in those areas, I'd be more than happy to help you personally. Thank you so much for tuning in today, hanging out with me until the very end. I always appreciate when you guys do. Take care.